Hello and welcome to an extremely special episode of Michael and Mom Talk Cancer. I am your official host, Michael Reed Kramer, and
I am the other official host. I am Ashlee Kramer. You guys know me as Mom. We have another mom on today, though, too, and we are so excited, truly, to welcome you, Louna. Thank you so much for being here, Louna Kadoch.
Kadoch, yes.
Kadoch. I don't want to say it wrong with your... We're going to just call you Louna anyway. Louna, thank you so much for being here. You are a fellow mom.
I am.
You have a different story to tell, though. Also, fellow podcaster.
Yeah.
And you have a beautiful podcast that we will talk about, Out of Order, and we'll get to that and understand why it's called Out of Order, which is also beautiful. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's interesting because we don't even live in the same city. And the person who introduced us lives in France. And it's just so mind-blowing how we are all connected and we don't even live next to each other. It's just
the internet, right?
It's beautiful, though. I know that there are so many hard things about social media, but for us, it's been such a great connector, especially in the cancer world. And I know your podcast isn't only about the cancer world, but your story is. So I don't know if we want to start there. Do you want to?
Yeah, sure. Let's start there.
Share as much or as little as you want.
I'm an open book. So, cancer for me was a word that I knew very little about. And it's surprising because I work in a hospital.
I saw that.
Yeah, I work in a hospital.
You're a social worker in a hospital for 20 years before this even happened, right?
Before this happened, but
Yeah.
my expertise is in perinatal loss, actually. Yeah. So when I say that cancer was foreign, I'm not going to say it's foreign, but it wasn't something that I was entirely familiar with.
Right.
From social media we learn, but I really never was around anyone who was hit by cancer. Here and there, yes, friend, a grandfather, but it didn't have the same sort of meaning until my world changed completely. My daughter Miriam. So, it started off with this belly, she had like this distended belly, who, we thought that this was part of what she looked like. Truly, she had those skinny legs and just a little belly that kind of looked like her dad's. And over the summer of 2022, I would see her with less clothes, right, in bathing suits and stuff, and something looked different. And but again, still not thinking that this is cancer.
And can I interrupt and just ask,
course.
How old was she at that time?
So she's 12.
Okay, thanks.
12.
Thank you.
And, to make a very long story short, we had her checked out thinking that maybe it was just something in her bowels or something like that. And we ended up in the oncologist's office that afternoon. And my mind went to the worst.
How did you get to oncology so quickly from checking out? How did that happen so quickly?
So I have to say that I've been blessed with good friends and good people in the hospital. Mind you, they're in different hospitals, right? She's followed in a children's hospital, but we went to go get her checked out with an x-ray. And it was done in a private clinic. And the radiologist came out and said, look, there's something there. I can't say more. It doesn't look good. Go to the emergency. And that's when I freaked out.
I'm sure.
And, people came through for me that day, made some calls, and I ended up at the children's hospital in the oncologist's office. So I did avoid the emergency, but by the looks, and when you think back on how things played out, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. And we ended up doing biopsies and tests and scans, and before I knew it, within less than a week, we had a diagnosis, and it was the one that they feared. It's a neuroblastoma. So neuroblastoma, from what I was told, is common, but like in little children.
We know it's
And
very, very too many, but they have been like 12 to me as an older.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
we
so
know
this one
little
was
ones.
rare,
Right.
very rare. And it was a mass of about 24 inches. So
Wait,
huge.
24 inches?
2 feet. Yeah.
and it spread like, so it started off by, so we hear neuroblastoma, and if you don't know, right, you think, oh, is it in the brain? No, it began in the adrenal gland,
Right.
and it sort of basically encompassed her whole body. When we took scans, her organs were all over the place, yet she was eating well, pooing well, breathing well, nothing. I had zero signs, and everything was like out of order, literally. Um, it was very difficult few months. She was diagnosed August 18th. We did 5 rounds of chemo, and she's really did them like a champ. We hear of chemo and we think, oh, she's going to be sick. She's going to throw up. She's not going to be well. We're going to end up in the hospital. She threw up maybe a few times. That's it. She was always happy. She was always smiling. And so we, is this what cancer does? Like this cancer. And it was only when she started losing her hair, right, that both she and I and her dad and her siblings said, oh, okay, here he comes, right? I don't know how much further to go, but it doesn't end well, unfortunately. She died on December 18th, 2022.
5 months.
4
4 months.
4 months.
Yeah, September, 4 months.
Wow,
And
wow, wow, wow.
the reason, was it really the cancer that killed her? Yes and no, because she had 5 rounds of chemo. The next step had to be surgery, because even though the mass was shrunk to 16, so we got from 24 to 16, they had to go in there. They didn't know what they were going to find, how hard it was going to be, but it had to be removed. And so surgery was literally our next, it was the next thing to do. As scary as it was, there was no other, in hindsight, I wonder a lot of things, right?
Hindsight, I know.
But so we went into surgery, and we were told it was going to be a very long, difficult surgery, and we would know what we were getting involved with as soon as they opened her up. A 12-hour surgery that turned into an 18-hour surgery. So here's the number 18 again.
Oh my God, that number, we've
Yeah.
had a thing. We're actually
Today's the
recording
18th.
this on the 18th, which is my husband's birthday, my close father who passed away as well. So 18 is a
18.
number that you and I, we
Sure.
share. Yeah.
And so an 18-hour surgery is generally not a good sign.
Yeah.
They nicked an artery. And although they thought they repaired it, the damage had already been done. And she ended up coming out of the OR with the hopes of maybe going back in, had they been able to stabilize her, but the organs were shutting off one by one. She had many, many transfusions, to a point where, now my memory is a little bit shot, but how many liters do we have of blood in our body, right? She ended up double that. So she ended up not even dying with her own blood.
No.
Yeah. And I thought about all those things after. And so, I want to talk more about the cancer piece, but that is unfortunately how my story ended. But I say this all the time, cancer brought me my daughter. I have 3 children.
That was what I was going to say. I know you have 2 other children. I don't know the ages. So
So
Miriam, I know she was 12. How old were
Emma
your
was
other?
12. No, Miriam was 12.
Yeah.
Emma's 12 now.
Okay, so
That's
Emma was younger, and you have a son that's
and Jacob is 16
okay.
now, and so he was 14 at the time.
Okay.
So that in itself, was really hard to
Yeah,
navigate
14,
being
12, and 10. Those are
being
the ages of my kids when my husband was diagnosed.
seriously.
Yeah, they were 14, 12, and 10. Yeah.
So I mean, Michael, I could just imagine what it was like also living at home with cancer and having siblings and what that's like.
Yeah, it's difficult.
It's very difficult. I mean, now we speak about it sometimes, but the one with the cancer gets a lot of attention.
Of course.
So we've come a long way. We still have our whole lives to go, but we've come a long way in the grief of their sister. But at the time, right, for them, seeing her, and we hear cancer, she's dying,
Yeah.
right? That's what we think. That's what we fear.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, I was scared for a very long time, until I wasn't anymore, because Miriam didn't seem like she was dying. She was full of life, full of energy, love, doing her things. She wasn't allowed to go to school, and that was her first year of high school, actually.
Okay.
So she didn't get to do that. She got to go one day, and that was it. But she was determined to do school in the hospital. We weren't hospitalized the whole time. We were just hospitalized like during the actual treatments,
Right.
and then we come home. But I mean, she was your typical brat still,
She
right?
was your middle kid too, like
Yeah.
Michael's my middle kid.
So I mean, I'm very honest when I say she was my brat. And she loved attention, and she was not my easy kid. She was not my easy kid, but she's the only one out of the 3 of them that could have carried cancer the way she did, because she had full of insight, full of knowledge. She just knew the way she brought goodness to us and to the world, that she made cancer so beautiful. I don't know how that sounds to
No,
someone else.
I'm listening to you, and I'm 100% relating. I mean, I'm blessed that Michael is here, but I feel your words so deeply, because I feel that with Michael, that he has made it a very beautiful journey. And I did read what she said before she went into surgery, and I don't want to share it. I think that should come from you. And I don't know if those were her last words to you, or her last thought.
Well, are you referring to Life Doesn't Fall Apart?
Yeah.
So it was the day, it wasn't right before surgery. Right before surgery, she said she did something else that really blew my mind, and I can tell you that too.
Okay.
But the day before surgery, we were driving, and she was just talking to me, as she's not the kind of kid that's on her phone while
Yeah.
driving. She's actually the kind of kid that has
Talks.
conversations. Yeah, I miss that a lot.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about the cancer and what's the next steps and the surgery. And she started talking, and I could not believe that she was saying those words. So I had to pull over, because I was honestly in shock, and I taped her. And I'm so
Mm.
happy that I taped her. But in a nutshell, she said, "Mom, life doesn't fall apart. Sometimes it just falls into place." And she was referring to surgery. And she said,
Mhm.
"Mom, maybe we need to look at surgery like it's the positive thing. Like it's what's going to save us. It's what's going to make all of this okay. And she really had faith that she was at the point where things were going to be okay. And, maybe in her way, wherever she is, they are okay.
That's what I'm thinking, feeling.
I believe so. I believe that she was too good for this world. She only wanted to help people. She, on her last round of chemo at the hospital, she spent, and I don't know if Erica showed them to you or not, but I'll send you pictures.
I saw.
She made these get well cards for all the
I
kids.
saw them. Mm.
And my sister, actually, I'm so grateful. She had said before she gives them, take pictures of them. And that's why I was able to do something with them now and turn them into get well cards. But she made one for each kid, wishing them luck, letting them know that she's on her final journey and she's kicking ass to cancer, and they will too. And I kid you not, but I had this mom who came back crying because her 9-month-old had just been diagnosed with cancer. And getting that card from Miriam was life-changing for her because she saw hope and she saw how a child can be. And she says, I'm going to keep this and I'm going to put this in my memory box, like in my little box that I'm collecting. We all have these like collections, right?
Yes.
And this is the first thing that I'm collecting onto the path of healing, onto the path of getting better. And just throughout, I've gotten messages from the clinics of people who have received her cards. So before her surgery, like the day of, actually for days leading up to the surgery, she was very, very adamant about finishing a project. She was going into surgery December 18th, and she was preparing holiday cards for the Christmas party that was going to be on the ward and in the clinics. And she made about 50, not knowing if she was going to have enough, but she made 50 holiday cards, beautiful cards. And she said to me, look, in case I don't have the strength to go to the party, because I think it was going to be on the 20th or the 21st, something like that. She goes, can you just bring them to Afifa, who was our childcare worker, just so that at least the kids can have it. During surgery, I just went up, to be honest, because I didn't know what my head would look like in the next few days, and I wanted to make sure that she had them. It was a Friday, and the weekend would pass, and I'm so grateful that I did, because by Sunday we were out of the hospital, and I knew I wouldn't go back. And I brought them to them, and weeks down the line, I was just getting messages of cards that Miriam had sent. So that was her focus. She just wanted to do good, to be kind, to, she did a lot of volunteer work. I mean, what 12-year-old does volunteering?
I know.
I mean, what 12-year-old is thinking about other kids while they're going through that? Like, that's just insane. And that like shows like the parenting as well too. Like, it's got to come from a good family also.
I think she taught me.
I think so too. I feel that too all the time with Michael. Like, people are like, he's so amazing, and I'm like, I know. I'm just soaking it in.
I think that, I thank you, Michael, for saying that, because I want to believe that I raised my children to be good and to be kind.
I'm pretty sure you did. And I'm pretty sure you're still doing it with the other two.
Yeah.
I am,
and 100% environment. She had her own soul. She had her journey.
And I think,
but the environment impacts it.
But you impact, you're part of her journey, girl.
I know. And this is why I say it all the time. I thank cancer.
Yeah.
Because before cancer, I didn't know her. I knew that she was a brat. I knew that she was
your middle kid.
I know, but this is what I'm saying. Like, I knew that she needed a lot of attention. I knew she needed a lot of love. I knew she needed, but all those things that I knew about her would sometimes annoy me. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like, and so, you go to work, you prepare lunches in the morning, you come home, you're doing homework, you're preparing dinner, you're doing showers, baths, whatever it is. Are you really spending time with them? Do you really know them? And I can honestly say that I discovered Miriam because of cancer. I really did. I didn't give her. I always thought that my older son, like the Jacob, was the ones with the brains, because he would just get it and he would do well in school. And Miriam did well in school, but she worked her ass off. But she was so much brighter in so many other different ways. Intelligence doesn't just, stay with sciences.
Jacob, we hope you're not listening to
Oh,
this
he's gonna
podcast
listen.
episode.
He will. He will. And he said he's the first one to say that, like, there are certain qualities that Miriam had that the others don't. And I didn't let them shine enough until she had cancer. And now I'm letting them shine. And sometimes
Yeah.
I'm angry at myself for that.
But you know what? Like that's changed you, and that's changed, I'm sure, how you are with your other two children, with Jacob and Emma. I'm sure it's changed it. Like, that is where something like cancer, like, you don't want someone to get it, but I don't wish anyone to go through it. But like that experience, which is why you're sharing it, I think, which is why we share it,
Yes.
because going through it, you learn so much about people. You learn so much about the people that are faced with it, but also the caregivers. It makes you look at the other people in your life
That's it.
so differently. So I'm sure now it's not just Miriam. You look at Jacob differently. You look at
My
Emma
life.
differently. You look at your husband differently.
Ex-husband.
Oh, okay.
Was he ex-husband when you went through this? Okay. We've seen people break up and people get closer. We've seen
No,
both.
we say it all the time that we're really lucky we were already divorced.
Yeah.
Because knowing how we both grieve differently, we were able to be there for each other. Because then we got to go to different homes. Like, we really were able to be there for each other.
That's
for
good.
Miriam.
Yeah.
So in a way, that was a blessing too, as weird as it sounds.
No.
Yeah, it's good it didn't turn like toxic or anything. It's good you guys like still can work on it together.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes we would. It's funny that you're saying this, and I want to share this just to show you a little bit about Miriam's character. We'd alternate shifts, if you want to call them, right? In the hospital, day, evening, whatever. And sometimes one of us would come and we would just stay together for a little bit before leaving. And so we were all three of us together, Miriam, my ex, and myself. And I remember this one time we were just arguing about something. Can't remember what it was, but we were just arguing and she was listening. And she just said, enough. She's like, Dad, start listening to Mom more often because you don't listen. And Mom, stop yelling so much. Like, she's like, that's enough. Do this and you guys are going to be fine. So, like, she was always the mature one, but then it made us laugh, right? It made us laugh and we forgot what we were arguing about.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I wanted to ask you, so you are a social worker. When she was diagnosed, you were like a grief counselor. You were specializing, and that was what you did.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you still do that, but then for you, did that help you? Did it do it? Did it?
So
it's so different when it's right.
So the first thought was, when it happened, when she died, I'm like, really? I mean, I knew what I was doing already. Like, did I need to really live it to know? I have to say that part of me can say I was lucky to have the tools.
Right.
Doesn't mean I followed them all, right? Doesn't mean that, but I knew, and I knew when, and I did, I went to therapy, but I knew I didn't want to go and see a grief specialist because that's not what I needed. I didn't need anyone to teach me the stages. I didn't need anyone to, because I knew them. I was just now living them, right? So the therapy that I was seeking was more around probably the trauma and a more wider type therapy than just a grief therapy. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
But even though I was doing this for 20 years and thinking and knowing that I was connecting with these parents, right? I've connected a lot, like helping them. Even though I never went through something like that, I believed that I was able to give them some sort of comfort. Well, I'm going to tell you, after Miriam died and I went back to work, it's as though it was no longer foggy anymore. And whatever I thought I was doing well, I wasn't. And it's not that I go in now sharing Miriam's story, but I go in there with Miriam, and I go in there knowing the pain and the depth of their hurt, and knowing that my words are not going to bring their child back. But what I needed and what I continue to need is to remember her, is to have the space to talk about silly things like her being a brat, right? Like, we move on, life goes on, people move forward. And it's not that they do it with malintent, but they want us to be happy. And so they don't want to talk about the bad. And so they will avoid talking about what would make me sad. Where I can tell you right now, I'm able to talk about funny things and I'm able to talk about life, but I really always want to talk about Miriam. And it doesn't have to be a Debbie Downer, but sometimes I want it to be a Debbie Downer. Like, I want to be able to just feel safe in an environment where I'm speaking it. And I knew walking into these rooms, I knew what they needed. And I feel different walking in. And I feel like I've been more helpful, more comforting, even though it's very different. I lost a 12-year-old, they're losing newborns or, in utero losses. But, and I've said this on my podcast, when on the first season, I've interviewed people who have lost, and people say to me, like, how can you interview someone who's lost like a 28-week baby? How can you compare that to a 12-year-old? And I said, well, I don't. I don't compare it because I cannot compare it, right? You cannot compare that because it's no grief is the same, right? Sitting here and your dad, like you lost your dad, and then you were hit with your son having cancer. I mean, come on, you've lived all sorts of different griefs. So no one grief is the same.
But I'd have to go back to what you said, though. It's true. I know in the beginning, I felt like we didn't talk about it very much. Like, when Patrice passed away, we had to go forward. And I know there's stages of grief, and it wasn't quite denial, but it was like, okay, we have to keep living. And the kids when he passed away, were 12, 14, and 16.
Yeah.
So like you now,
you gotta go.
Because 2 years, right? So, but I feel like now, and especially everything Michael's been through, and we've been so open about Michael's story, that it's given us so much permission, I think, or opening up. We talk about Patrice, I feel like, so much more now, but it's beautiful, and it keeps him alive. And he's forever will be grieving, but also I'm a very joyful, positive, optimistic, smiley person. That's okay too. I really do have both. Like, so sad we lost him. So sad they lost their dad. My 3 kids mourn him, but they're also 3 energetic, beautiful humans that have a lot of love in their life. And
I believe that grief, we walk down a path and we can either allow it to shape you or destroy you.
Yes. Oh, beautiful words.
And Michael, I think that however, I don't know you well, but just losing your dad and going through what you went through, you were clearly on a path. And what you're doing today with me and with all the people that you have met, the path you're on is absolutely beautiful and is 100% making Patrice proud.
I'm just trying to do the right thing. And I think I think we were given this opportunity. Like, I felt like some people, what they're meant to do is like different than we're what they're meant to do. And I think we're meant to do these podcasts and to interview people and to share our stories and to be hope. And and you as well, like seeing you start your own podcast, and I'm sure it's like out of your comfort zone to talk about it all the time. I know it's definitely not easy, but it's like
It's
we're
part of my
here for
grieving process, to
yeah,
be honest.
yeah.
You know, I'm very honest when I say that when I had the idea of doing something like the podcast, you know, first of all, I love to talk, and so
Me
that's why.
too.
So that's why I knew that this was going to be right up my alley. But I felt that there was something missing in my surroundings, and that was giving people the chance to share their story. And my podcast is based on loss. It is. It's not, it's not something that people necessarily can listen to all the time. Some people have come up to me and say it's too hard to listen to each his own. But I want to create a platform so that other parents, other siblings, anything that is out of order, which is the name of the podcast, Out of Order Podcast, that they can share their grief process, what they've learned, what they've went through, how they can teach others who maybe never went through a loss before, and how, I've had people come up to me and say, thank you, because I don't know how to react when I see you, or I don't know how to talk. And you make it so easy to then talk about you to you or to Miriam, and we're not scary people. We just,
Right.
but death is taboo.
It's intimidating for people.
In the Eastern,
it's very intimidating for people to talk about death and cancer and disease, and because the world we live in, we don't talk about these things, and
I know, but don't you find that interesting that the one thing, whether you're black,
it's
guaranteed, right? Death and taxes.
That you're gonna die. It doesn't matter. There's nothing that's gonna stop. We're not one person is going to be immune from it.
Yeah.
So something that is going to affect every single one of us at one point or another, we are most scared of.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing in our culture, and I think that's why it's important to talk about it. But that's what cancer does too. It's a kind of like, that is the gift of cancer, is that it makes you not just cancer, but many other things as well. But it just puts it there. Like, yeah. we still think about it. Like, Michael still has a lot of still in treatment, and like it just doesn't go away.
How long do you still have, if I can ask?
Well, because I don't have cancer anymore. My cancer's in remission, thankfully. But I have graft versus host disease, which is a complication from the bone marrow transplant. So I still have to do immunosuppressive treatments, and I'm gonna have to start a clinical trial soon. So more and more treatments, and it's gonna be a long-term thing, but we'll see. Because I'm able to live life. It's just not like normal.
But again, with chemotherapy, with radiation, we know the long-term effects of everything he's also been through. So I don't know. Maybe he'll live to be 100 and defy the odds, but there's the reality of the long-term effects of all the treatments that he's been through. And I hate even saying that in front of Michael. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to even say this in front of Michael. But it is the reality, and that is the reality of cancer, and that's the reality of a lot of the treatments. You also said something, I heard you say that I thought resonated, and that sharing, talking about it, you don't want people to feel pity or sorry for you. It's not that. And Miriam, I'm sure, Michael too, he doesn't want people to feel sorry for him. I don't want people to go, oh, you lost your husband and then your son got cancer. Poor Ashlee. It's not that. You want to maybe have empathy. You want people to feel something.
Yes.
To learn also what you've been learning. Like, I think that's why we talk about it. That's why we share. But it's not for pity.
No, but I think that to have the skill of being empathetic is not for everyone.
It's not. You're right.
It's hard. It's a hard one. It's being empathetic is different than being supportive or being caring. It's really deeper than that, right?
Yeah, because it puts you in that position of feeling or trying to feel.
Yeah.
You know.
And I'm not I mean, interestingly enough, I think that Miriam's dad feels this probably more to this day than I do, but that I think can just mean our characters are different. But I never really cared, or I guess I'm oblivious to the fact when people give me that pity look.
Mm.
Miriam was like that. Miriam was like that. But let them look, let them whatever. But Miriam was a big YouTuber, also TikTok.
Yep.
And
2022.
she literally made a gazillion videos. And the first time she had lost her hair, she was scared because she didn't know how she was going to be on camera.
Yeah.
And how she was going to tell her followers. And she killed me, like, just listening to her. I mean, she didn't really have a following, but like she thought she had a following. And, one day I remember she literally didn't care. And I found her date and she put her bonnet and she's like, I have cancer. And that's when I knew that she accepted it, maybe on her terms, right? We never spoke about death so much, except, we tend to go back in our text messages, right? Like I tend to go back in our text messages, and I did that fairly soon after she passed away. And I remember there was this one night that she was at her dad's and I was home, and I get like a gazillion texts, mom, 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 mom. So I hear the beeping, right? And I check in and she's like, Mom, I can't close my eyes. I said, what's wrong? She says, I'm scared that if I close my eyes, I'm going to die. And I said, it's not going to happen. She's like, but how do you know? I said, you're right. I don't know. And she asked me, she said, what is it like when you die? And I had a choice then and there to either pretend like disregard her question or answer with something that I know would maybe bring her comfort, maybe not. And I said to her, I called her at that point, we weren't texting anymore. But I remember telling her that I don't know. I don't know what it's like to die. And I can just imagine that it's peaceful. And I could just imagine that we're not hurting and we're okay. But I understand that you're afraid of that. And I am too. And, we had to put in, there was 2 procedures for the biopsy. And the first time she had it done, she was put to sleep and she was really upset about it. And so the second time around, when she got to learn more about cancer and what was required and what happened, she said, I'm not going to sleep. And the doctor was like, well, you have to. And she's like, no, I don't. And literally the doctor came in with the anesthesiologist and she was her own advocate. Her dad and I just stood there sort of listening. And she says, is there any way I can do this awake? And the doctor was like, well, yes, but it's going to hurt. She's like, it's okay. And she did it. She did it awake, and she told me after, I'm not closing my eyes, Mom. And that's how she knew the day I walked her into surgery. I wasn't saying goodbye. She wasn't saying goodbye, but she knew she was saying goodbye. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I was also, again, very blessed. We said goodbye. They took her in. And there was someone who wasn't on shift, but she knew who I was from someone. Like it was one of my sister-in-law's friends. She goes, I'm going to ask the doctor if I could just go in and hold her hand so that she knows someone. So it was a familiar face, but no one I knew. And she wasn't on shift and she just went in. Well, she FaceTimed me from the OR while she was putting her masks. And so the last words Miriam heard was, I love you, I love you, I love you. And then she
Oh.
Oh my goodness. I hadn't heard that story.
So those are the memories or the things that I hold on to.
When Patrice died, I mean, people that have heard this podcast have probably heard us say this before, but he was in hospice. And we knew, and I hope he heard us. Those were the last words that we said to him, where we were saying, I love you. And then the 3 kids and I, we were lucky that we were with him when he died. I mean, he was at home, but we were lucky we were in the room.
Yeah.
So I felt that so strongly. She heard you.
She heard me awake.
She heard you, yeah.
And I spoke with her for the 2 days after, so I said a lot of things.
I'm sure you said a lot of things.
But, you know, I think that cancer, illness, when we lose someone, when we're about to lose someone, it changes perspective of life, what's important and what's not important.
Oh, you know? Yeah.
And I wake up every morning now and I say, I'm lucky. I'm lucky to have today with my kids, to get to go and do stuff. Some people are not lucky anymore. And I'm not taking away from my pain and what has been taken away from me. I'm not. But until I get to see her again, I've got to make the best out of it, or she's going to be real pissed with me.
Yeah. Yeah. She was, I don't know, she was here for however you feel about this, but like she was here for that reason.
I do feel that way. I do.
Yeah. And
I just wish it was longer, right?
We all do, right? Yeah. We all do. No matter how long. I hear people grieving for their 90-year-old's, grandmother. And I get that.
Yeah.
It's less out of order.
Yeah.
It's less out of order than losing your child.
Well, that's it. It goes back to we're all going to die, right? But doesn't mean that it doesn't mean it's not going to be hard, right? We lose our parents at 90, they're still our parents.
Right, of course.
Right? But I mean, there's just something that is, what's the word I'm looking for? Surreal about losing a child.
There's something surreal about I'm not going to say there's something surreal about your child being diagnosed with cancer. There's something surreal about watching them go through chemotherapy or radiation, all of it, surgeries, and it still feels surreal to me. Sometimes I'm like, and then you have I know I have 2 other kids, you have 2 other kids, and same genes.
Right.
Same husband, and it's very hard to explain. And I know that a lot of times with cancer, people do want to put blame, and with many diseases, if you ate differently, if you did this differently, but I'm sorry.
BS.
It's BS. We know it's BS. As parents, I think we know it's BS.
Well, it's like, come on, how can we explain that a 9-month-old baby?
How can you explain? Yeah,
when all she's gotten was her mother's breast milk, so that now her mother can just blame herself for things that she's eaten. Come on, it's like none of it makes sense. None of it is right. Cancer needs to be eliminated. For children, for adults, it's just a horrible, horrible disease. And yes, it brings us to a place, and thank God, Michael, you are okay. But
thank you. Yeah,
you should have never had it to begin with. Your family.
Well, nobody should.
I know, but it's like, with Patrice dying, it's like, really? And that's how I felt after Miriam died. Like, now I'm going through things with my son, who has epilepsy and is going to maybe go through a surgery. And this is the first time I'm actually saying it out loud. Well, out loud in the universe. But I was so mad. I'm so mad. Like, did I not suffer enough? And that's kind of what happened to you. Like, but we just keep going, right?
We keep going, and we don't know. I have a shirt that we made that's there is no why.
Yeah, you could never ask why. It's just
we don't know, and we don't
life.
know. Yeah, and we don't know why some people get more than others. And don't tell me it's stress. Don't tell me it's where we lived. Like, we don't know. We don't know. I think we just don't know, and things happen, and then you have a choice about making a purpose. So getting to the question of purpose, how long did it take you to get to the point that I don't know if it's not your only purpose, but one of them is your podcast as well.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you to to get to that point of wanting to share and start your podcast? Or what brought you to that?
Well, I thought, okay, well, I can answer this question two ways.
Go.
I remember the minute I knew that I had a purpose, and that was the day I stood up on the podium to say her eulogy. I said, I now will do this for you for the rest of my life. Yeah. But I mean, the podcast, it came out last year. So she died December 2022, and I started it August 18th was the first launch, 2024. But the idea came about probably that March or April. Right. So, but that doesn't mean I wasn't doing projects before, right? I took care of her Get Well cards. Like, I was constantly trying to find purpose with the good. So distributing those Get Well cards to sick people, to raising money. I've raised over $18,000 to a charity that helped us during her illness by selling those cards. And so for me, that was part of her, because that was what I wanted to do, give back, right?
I saw that charity. Tell me what it's called again. I saw it.
It's called High Lifeline.
Yes.
So they help families that have patients and families that have illnesses. Cancer is just one of them, but they were, the second I needed their help and didn't even know I wanted help, they were there, coming to see her in the hospital, bringing gifts every time they visited. To at one point, Miriam looked at her worker and said, okay, that's enough. You brought me enough gifts. There are many children here. If you bring a gift, go give it to them. Like, that's what I mean. Like, she was like that, So the podcast only came about last summer. But like I said, when I spoke and gave her eulogy, I knew that was the path I was taking. I just knew it. I felt it in my gut. I felt that she needed me to do this. She has not given me a minute break. I've recently been asked to participate with the ICRF, which is an Israel Cancer Research Fund. And I went to go and speak and send my story. And we raised money for their gala. And now they basically fund research. And there's this doctor who heard about Miriam, who was coming into town, and who has basically had decided that all his papers, all his research will be in her honor. And so he's coming into town, and I'm very excited to meet him. And so, yes, I mean, I think that, it's not just about grief, it's about cancer. I every year on her birthday, I make a big, I donate a lunch, and we do a little birthday party on the ward.
When is her birthday?
March 19th. Okay. So we, the oncology ward and clinic will forever be in my path. However, I can raise money for them. However, I can speak if they need someone who needs to, like a parent who needs to speak. I've been asked to speak to other parents who were on the verge of losing their baby. I went to go and see her in the hospital. That's what I want to do, because, and it doesn't make me an expert, but I just want to be a presence for them.
And you are.
I want to, and again, it's education.
Right.
Part of my podcast is to educate people. Like, even as something silly like neuroblastoma is not in the brain.
Right.
Like, or it's just, there's a lot to learn. And, when people say, oh, it's just hair.
Oh, no.
For the person that's living the cancer, it's not just hair.
No, definitely not.
It's the moment that person realizes what's happening. It's a very crucial point for the person who has cancer.
Listen, my husband, before he had cancer, I remember one time he shaved his head because he was like, it's hot. We live in Miami. And he shaved his head. When he shaved his head because it was falling out from cancer, it was not the same as when he shaved his head because he was hot in the Miami heat. There was nothing the same about it.
Yeah.
And, Michael shaving his head, he had friends that shaved their heads with him, which was so beautiful. It was what a lovely thing. But as much as they were wonderful, it was different for them.
Of course.
Shaving their heads. It was beautiful. It was supportive.
But it's not the same.
But it's not the same. When your hair is falling out, that's part of you dying. And you know that. You know that when that hair is on your pillow, that is part of your body dying. And I remember seeing his pillow before he shaved his head and being like, oh my God, it's happening.
It's so hard for the person, but I can speak as a mom, you could speak as a mom, Ashlee, but it killed me. It killed me.
Yeah, but I think in all fairness, for me, it wasn't the biggest deal losing my hair. I think for girls it's so much different.
Yeah.
I know I'm like saying like opposite of what you guys are saying, but
that's okay.
It didn't feel like I was dying. It just felt like I was going through it, and losing my hair was just part of the process. But again, it's different for everyone.
A research subject. Is it different for boys than for girls, right?
It is. Yeah. No, 100% it is. Like, I lead a support group for cancer patients, and every girl I talk to, it's like devastating to lose their hair, and all the guys kind of say the same thing. You know, they're like, it sucks, but it's like whatever. Like, we guys typically have shorter hair, so. Right.
I don't know. I think for a mom though, like seeing the hair on the pillow, that's the moment that you're like, okay, the chemo it's working. It's working.
Or killing.
That's what I mean. It's killing. Yeah. And I know for my husband, I remember when he shaved his head, and as I said that story, it was two very different experiences. So yes, I will let you have that. Yeah. Because of course your experience is your experience, and I do think it is harder for girls. We saw a lot of girls that just suffered and would have like little scraggly hair and not want to shave it and resist shaving it, and boys would be like, yeah.
But she was, even with her bald head, she was beautiful.
And, I'm sure.
Of course.
You know, it's like the beauty's here, it's here. And yes, at the end of the day, it's hair, but it's
the symbolism. It's the loss.
It is.
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay.
Should we ask some fun questions?
Yeah. We want to get to know you. Now this is about you.
Yeah, this is the final part of some fun questions.
Okay, so you start.
Okay. What's your favorite book? I like asking this one.
Do you have a favorite book?
I do. Well, I'm a huge reader.
Okay, perfect.
Huge reader. So it's really hard to say my favorite, but I think that if I were to say that one that really stands out for me, because I can show you my list, I've got like over 200 books, would be The Nightingale.
Oh,
never read it.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a teardropper, and I don't usually cry when I read.
But that one will make you cry. Yeah. That's beautiful. Okay. What about what's your favorite kind of music? Or do you have a favorite artist?
I mean, I love Sarah McLachlan. I love.
Me too.
I switch around. I'm a big radio girl. So whatever's trending, that's what I'm going to listen to.
All right. You got teenage kids. You got a 12 and a 16-year-old. So you're probably slightly influenced, I would imagine, at times.
I know, but I mean, I want to say it's more refined, but it's not. My music.
It doesn't have to be. I love Sarah McLachlan too. She's beautiful. She's lovely. All right, another fun one.
What's a superpower you wish you had?
Aside from bringing Miriam back?
That could be it.
And if I can't have that one, maybe just have a peek about what she's doing.
Okay. That's a nice one.
Have one more minute. One more minute to sort of check in.
Maybe it could be like flying, and then you can like fly, just go check on her, and then fly back to Earth with the other kids, like have wings.
Yeah. She came to me. I mean, I know we're talking about me, but she doesn't come to me so much anymore, but she's come to me in my dreams many times to reassure me she's okay.
Oh.
We constantly dreams. I dream about my husband all the time. I'm always. All right. Do you have like a message, a greatest message you would like to leave?
Yeah. Do good and be good.
Yeah.
Just be kind. And
isn't it funny how cancer like makes you want to just be kind.
Just be kind. Really, there's nothing better than being kind and patient. You know, everything, we don't know what's going to be tomorrow. So I guess another message would be grateful for everything that you have.
And it's hard to always be grateful, but like,
if you remind yourself,
make it a practice.
Yes, make it a practice. Wake up in the morning and, wake up in the morning and just say, okay, I've opened my eyes. That means I'm here.
Yeah. I think it's a good way to start. Like, I try to remember that in the morning. First thing I do.
And then when you go to bed, thank you for giving me today, right? Because our days are counted for. We just don't know what our numbers are.
Leave a gratitude text with my kids.
Yeah.
I make them. Yeah. We'll send like 3 gratitudes and then they'll answer, and it's our little group chat.
I like that.
We make that a daily practice. And even if we repeat the same things, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. What do you want to ask?
If you knew you were going to die tomorrow, what would you do today?
I would literally just spend it with the people I loved. I would have a big party in my house and then kick everyone out and just so that I get to say goodbye to everyone. And I would just spend the rest of the night with my 2 kids.
Yes.
Try to give them all the lessons that they need. And yeah. I don't even have like a dream to go to a different country. It's really, if I knew I was dying tomorrow, that would be the only thing I'd wanted. Okay, maybe I'd order in my favorite foods, but
you can do all of those things. Yeah. Have a party with your favorite food and then stay up all night with your kids, hugging them and talking
to them. Just hugging them and kissing them.
Exactly.
Nothing better for me.
That's the common thread. Everyone, it's like the life lesson. Everyone says at the end they want to be with the people they love, and that is the lesson. Oh goodness, is there anything that you want that we didn't ask you that you want to share?
I think that I'm really grateful to have had the opportunity to share Miriam with you guys. I know that it's a different ending, but nonetheless it was a cancer journey, and just being able to talk about her, and really, really, I'm very thankful for that.
Thank you so much for sharing with us, for being so open and honest, and it's hard.
Yeah, it is. But you guys are such a duo, and
thank you.
I love it. I really love it.
Maybe
I'll convince my son to turn something with me. All right.
We want to reach out to your son, and now we're sending him lots of love and prayers as well.
We hope everything goes well.
Yeah, we're sending lots of love for that.
Thank you, and this is an official goodbye from your host, Michael Kramer.
And the other host, Ashlee. And thank you so much, Louna. Thank you for being with here and sharing your heart with us. We're so grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone that's listening. We'll put in the show notes, we'll put your podcast